So, picture this, a brand new community. Its first leader is on his deathbed. How do you make sure your future is secure? I mean, this is one of the biggest tests any society can face, right? It's a moment that shows you what you're really made of. So, let's dive into this exact moment in history and see how it all went down. And these words from the first caliph, Abu Bakr, they get right to the heart of it. You can feel his number one concern wasn't about his own legacy or about power. It was all about unity. He knew, deep down, that a leadership vacuum could just tear this fragile community to pieces, and he was going to do everything in his power to stop that from happening. All right, so let's set the scene. The year is 13 AH. The Caliph, Abu Bakr, his health is failing and it's getting worse fast. And as you can imagine, the question of who's going to lead next is just hanging heavy in the air. And this isn't just some political decision, you know? For them, this was about protecting the future of their entire faith and all its people. So his first move in this whole crisis is, well, it's pretty incredible. He doesn't just pick someone, he actually calls everyone together and says, look, Allah has freed you from your oath of allegiance to me. Your affairs are in your hands, so appoint over you whomever you like. He literally gives the choice, the power, right back to the community. I mean, talk about selfless leadership. So, this is the huge problem they're facing. Abu Bakr has put the ball in their court. But the challenge is massive. How do you possibly guide an entire community to a decision that everyone can get behind? How do you make sure the transition is peaceful and you avoid that exact division he's so worried about? And that brings us to the search itself. See, Abu Bakr didn't make this call on his own, locked away in a room. What came next was basically a masterclass in how to do consultation. It was a careful, deliberate process, all designed to build a consensus that was absolutely rock solid. So here's a play-by-play of how it went. First, he goes to the most respected senior companions, but they do something amazing. They show incredible humility and basically say, no, we've decided to leave it to you. So Abu Bakr takes that trust and then starts doing these private one-on-one interviews to get really honest feedback about the person he has in mind. And what's really wild is how consistent all the feedback was. He asks Abdurrahman ibn Auf about Umar, and he replies, by Allah, he is even better than you think he is. Then he asks Uthman ibn Affan, who says, what he conceals is better than what he shows outwardly. They all saw this incredible depth of character in Umar, something you absolutely need in a leader. But, you know, it wasn't a total slam dunk. Some people were worried. They knew Umar was, well, strict. And this is where Abu Bakr's wisdom just blows you away. He explains that Umar's harshness was actually a balance to his own softness. He got that leadership isn't one size fits all, and that once Umar had the responsibility, his character would adapt to the job. I mean, what a metaphor, right? This just perfectly captures what Abu Bakr saw. The community was getting bigger, wealth was starting to flow in, and that could be a huge temptation. He needed a leader who was totally incorruptible. Umar wasn't just a man. In his eyes, he was a fortress, a solid mountain that could stand against any winds of corruption or luxury. So, with the choice pretty much confirmed through all this consultation, Abu Bakr moves to make it official. And this wasn't going to be some casual verbal announcement. Nope. He had a covenant written up, a formal, binding pact between the next leader and the people he was going to lead. He then looked out at the people from his home and he put the question to them straight up. And listen to what he emphasizes: merit and integrity. He swears he's chosen the best person for the job, not a cousin or a nephew. He's setting a precedent, a principle of meritocracy for the future. The document itself, it was crystal clear, no messing around. It named Umar ibn al-Khattâb, and it commanded the people to listen and obey him. And it was written so it could be read out loud in Madinah and to the army commanders who were far away. The goal was to leave zero room for confusion or arguments after he was gone. But it's how this covenant ends that is just wow. Abu Bakr closes this political document with a verse from the Quran. By doing that, he completely transforms the appointment from just a transfer of power into a sacred trust. It was a powerful reminder to the new leader and to everyone after him that all authority ultimately comes with divine accountability. All right, so after the public secession was all sorted out, Abu Bakr spent some time alone with Umar. This was the moment to switch gears, to go from the political to the personal. It was time to give him that final, crucial advice, that a leader needs to carry the heavy weight of command. His advice wasn't some long, complicated strategy document. It began with the absolute foundation. Just 2 words: fear God. That's it. That's the bedrock. Everything else has to be built on top of that. Next up was a lesson in diligence and really in balance. He warned Omar that every single duty has its proper time, and as a leader, you just can't neglect one for the other. You have to take care of your worldly responsibilities and your spiritual ones, each in their own time. Then, he connects your actions now to their ultimate consequence later. What is it that gives a leader's legacy any real weight? Just one thing: sticking to the truth and to justice. Falsehood, he said, makes the scales light. It's a pretty stark reminder of what really, truly matters in the end. And finally, he gave Omar advice on his inner spiritual state, the mindset a leader has to maintain. It's this delicate balance, right, between having hope in God's mercy and having fear of his justice. It's a state that keeps you from getting too comfortable, but also keeps you from despairing. It's the engine for being a righteous leader. So the choice has been made, the covenant is written, the personal advice has been given. All that's left is to see if this incredibly careful plan would actually work. Would it result in that seamless, peaceful transition that Abu Bakr had worked so hard to create? And this timeline just lays out those final, crucial steps. Abu Bakr told Uthman to read the covenant to everyone. Then he asked them to swear their allegiance to Omar right then and there, while he, Abu Bakr, was still alive. This was a total masterstroke. It secured the whole thing before a power vacuum could even think about forming. So how did the community respond? Well, when Uthman asked, "Will you swear allegiance to the one who is named in this covenant?" the answer was just a massive, universal yes. The process had worked beautifully. The people accepted it, and they approved of it. And the result? A transition with absolutely no dispute, no fighting, no factions. Umar became Caliph by what they called universal acclaim. That primary goal that Abu Bakr had from his deathbed to prevent division was achieved. The community was united. And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. In an age that was so often defined by brutal power grabs, this carefully planned process, built on consultation, on merit, on consent, and on accountability, it just stands out as this profound model. It really makes you ask, what timeless lessons about leadership can we still learn today from a caliph's final choice?